why are India, Tibet, and Nepal the source of so much knowledge? What happened there?
Can you give me that?
Yes,
Because I
yes,
tend
right
to
there.
forget, Why is... Okay. Beautiful questions. Let me tell you, before we start this question-answer session, that I don't guarantee that I have answers to all questions. I'm very happy to say I don't know when I don't know. I mean, that's the problem with us. We can never say I don't know. And if you don't know, you cannot start any inquiry or explanation if you know everything, So I'll try my best. If I can understand the question, I'll try to answer as much as I know. So the first question, why is India, Tibet, and what is the other thing? Nepal, the source of much knowledge? Honestly, I don't know. Except that I think in the early years, 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago, when the rest of the world was thinking about material advancement, the ancients of this land, maybe because of the food or because of the environment or whatever, were thinking more about internal matters. So they were experimenting. When you say rishi, it means a scientist actually. A scientist who is looking into one's inner psyche. When others were busy looking at the outer, so we have this Western civilization which has grown. These were looking at the internal aspects. So therefore it was passed down from teacher to disciple to teacher to disciple and so on till it became a whole body of knowledge which is available to human beings to explore and understand. I think that's why this land has been the source of so much knowledge. But please, having said this, I wouldn't say that knowledge was only confined to this geographical location. I have been looking closely at some of the ancient mystical works like the Kabbalah, which is in a different geographical location altogether. Especially the wonderful commentary on Kabbalah called the Zohar of Rabbi Salman ben Yochai. It's interesting because it's in a different language and it is approached from a different angle, but you look at it and you'll find that somewhere there is a meeting place. I'll give you an example. Moses is supposed to have gone up the Mount of Sinai. Sinai? Okay. And then he saw the burning bush, whatever it is. And he is wondering what's this all about. So he's about to get in there onto the mountain. Well, we call it the burning bush. I think there was a light behind the bush, whatever. So, and then he hears a voice which says, Moses, you're stepping on sacred ground, take off your shoes. That's what we do when we go to temples and so on. In a way, it's inconvenient. I love churches because you don't have to take off anything. You can go. Anyway, we have to take off our shoes. So Moses was instructed, take off your shoes. And then he goes up. And he wonders, what's this that's going on? What is this light? And the voice from somewhere says, this is what is written, Ahye Asher Ahye in Hebrew, which means, I am that I am. He says, who are you? What is this? He says, I am that I am. Ahye Asher Ahye. I am that I am. And the definition of the supreme reality with no conditionings whatever in the ancient Upanishads is called Tat, which means that. And it is also I am, the real I. Ramana Maharshi said all his life and finally said, I am the reality within me. So does I am that I am match with I am that? Tattvamasi. Okay, so let's move to the next question. Can one practice yoga without reference to God? No offence to those who are theists. Let me tell you that you can practice yoga without God in inverted commas, in quotes. Because from the yogic point of view, purification of the mind and finding the inner self is sufficient without a deity. You don't need to have a deity to practice yoga. I'm not saying that you should not have a deity. I'm saying even if you don't have a deity, you can still practice yoga. And when the mind becomes quiet, because the definition of yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. That means when the conflicts and confusions and disturbances and distractions of the mind stuff are completely removed, when the mind becomes calm and quiet, and then you can decide if God exists or not. There is no precondition. There is no precondition. And it's a step-by-step exercise. It doesn't depend on your faith. It depends on how much you do and what you do and how properly and regularly you do.
I heard you say in one of your talks that this approach is more powerful than mushrooms. Were you referring to meditation?
What mushrooms?
Mushrooms. Hallucinogenic mushrooms.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what I meant was there is no doubt that mushrooms and other psychedelic substances do alter your state of consciousness to some extent. There's no doubt about that. However, it's not the safe thing to do. That's what I meant. Because afterwards you have no control over it. And you might just end up as an addict. This happens not only in the West, please. It also happens in India. I know lots of sadhus who started off well and then became addicts to cannabis. And so after that, something more. So, while it's for a normal human being, sometimes it's difficult to even believe that there may be other states of consciousness. So people resort to chemicals to experience it. I feel that if you do it under control with somebody, I don't do it. Please don't get wrong ideas. I have gone through it, of course, I know it. Then once you've seen it, you can get out of it and go to the original instead of depending on the chemicals. It is possible. I'll give you a very good example. Most people know Ram Das, Richard Alpert, who now lives in Hawaii. You know that he was experimenting with LSD. He doesn't need it anymore. He doesn't experiment anymore. Fine. He found a Nim Karoli Baba who helped him to come out of it. But showed him that what you're looking for is found here. Don't get into this. Get out. But it requires a great deal of a great person to pull you out of this. So meanwhile, there is no denying the fact that this mushroom or whatever can, or lysergic acid, can cause altered state of consciousness. Is not the safe thing to do. There are other beautiful alternate ways of getting into, to understand this state of mind. That's what I meant.
It wasn't my question, but thank you. Certain religions, like the Hindu religion, says that, and perhaps even Buddhism says that we can become free of the cycle of rebirth. If one becomes enlightened, does one become one with something that doesn't come back, or do we keep coming back until everyone gets free?
Okay, I might forget. Yeah. Now, the soul or the mind or the individual once he has touched the universal, or broken free of, let's say, broken free of all conditioning, and sees everything as one, truly, suppose, then still there is a small ego which experiences it, right? There is an ego which experiences it. But it's a purified ego, it may be, however purified. So, now the question is, after the physical body dies, does that ego exist? We think the ego exists, but it's not the ego in the narrow sense of the term. An ego which understands, very subtle ego, almost like a ghost, like a frame, not in a bad way, which understands that it's not different but part of the whole. W-H-O-L-E, whole, not H-O-L-E, whole. And then, generally, it doesn't need to come back because there are no desires to be fulfilled. We come back because we still have desires to be fulfilled. I'm telling you the Hindu theory of reincarnation. You don't have to come back. So, most people don't, perhaps. But, if you're eternally then free, you may come back too if you feel like it. You're not bound. It's not like normally coming back. Okay. Now there is this beautiful way of thinking in the Buddhist Mahayana tradition, not in the other tradition, but in the Mahayana tradition, which is called the Bodhisattva. Now, a Bodhisattva is one who has experienced nirvana. His one foot is across the border. He knows he's there, he knows. But he refuses to put the other foot also across the line, saying, until I bring as many people as possible into this. Otherwise I'm being very selfish into this nirvana. If I can bring, so let me come back again and again till I bring all these people to nirvana. This is called a bodhisattva. Now it is loaded with danger because when you come back to this world, there is suffering, there is pain, but one is ready to go through it and say it doesn't matter. I still need to take people back. This is the concept of the bodhisattva. Therefore, sometimes great yogis come back to do some good work and go back again. But it is not, it's out of their own desire, not because they are left with any other mundane desires.